Hello, so this is a bit more of a formal video today. This is a video on how to build a mage pawn. Build a pawn. So we're gonna hop right into it. So, because I had a level 200 sorcerer, I decided that I make it using my main character, but it still gives you the basic premise. So for your weapon, we're gonna be going with Legion Smite. I have it Gold Dragon Forge. The rest of the stuff is kind of just up to you, decide what you want to wear. And you also want to be wearing 2 Ogre Bones. The reason why you want to be wearing these is that you become more resistant to stuns and knockdowns, and when paired with gear at endgame, you can reach 100% stagger knockdown resistance. This is going to be somewhat important for a mage pawn because the more they get staggered and knocked down, the less they actually complete the spells they are trying to cast. They become a little bit more bold when they have a higher stagger and knockdown resistance as well. They'll take more attacks in order to actually cast the spells they need to do to help the rest of the party. So your offense isn't going to be looking too good because you're using Legion Smite. But the point of this build is mages are supposed to support. They aren't really meant for damage. If you want to get damage, hire a sorcerer pawn. So for the mage, we're going to focus on what the mage is really for, not trying to make some sort of hybrid build. So based on that, now we're going to go to Asalam here, and I'm going to show you what I got cooked up for my skills. So for the staff, we're going very minimal. We're going Anodyne, Holy Affinity, High Grapnel, and that's it. High Grapnel works on all the bosses that you encounter in this game, with an exception being the Master and Puppet fight, the Unholy Priest in Stage 2, Bitter Black Isle. That is the one dude that seems to just not be hit by High Grapnel, but the Cursed Dragon does get hit by it, so it's still a valuable tool for that fight. Holy Affinity is great for endgame, you want to have that on there. You can substitute this with Fire Affinity for the regular game, then Anodyne. So the thing about grand spells in this game is that pawns like to jump out of them and stop casting them, because they only like to cast the highest tier, but they get scared and bail on their spell halfway through. So you can choose to run high Anodyne as well, that's perfectly valid, but for me, I found that Anodyne does the trick. They can just cast it over and over again whenever necessary. But if you already upgraded to high Anodyne, that's fine, you can run high Anodyne. But yeah, you want to keep your spell list minimal. You want to give them the smallest amount of tools in their toolkit, because you want them to be using High Grapnel whenever possible. So now we're going to go on to inclinations before I get onto the augments. A quick interjection from Gulliver. So you actually want your main pawn inclination to be Scather, followed by utilitarian. Those two together will make your pawn use grapnel more often and against the strongest opponent on the field. So with that out of the way, let's get back to the video. Now for the augments. You're going to need to max out Mage, you're going to need to max out Sorcerer, and you're going to need to get a couple of secret augments. So we're going to have Beat to increase the duration of Curative Magic's effects. Especially with the regular Anodyne, you need it to just be sitting around more often, because you want to be getting as much healing as possible. We have Inflection, because you want your pawn to be casting spells, and Inflection is going to help them power through getting hit a little bit better. Perpetuation, it just kind of assists Holy Affinity. You can switch this out for something. For example, if you're not in endgame yet, you can switch this out for Gravitas. Gravitas will help you get near that 100% stagger and knockdown resistance. But for me, because I'm in endgame gear, I can hit that 100% stagger knockdown resistance when I pair it with 2 Ogre Bones, so I don't need to be running Gravitas. Tenacity, you're running Legion Smite, which will be reviving your pawn every time they get knocked down, but running Tenacity along with that is another barrier to them being knocked down and having to be rezzed. So Tenacity is just another good mage augment, because it keeps them up in the fight more often. Conservation, this goes really well with High Grapnel. Now I don't know how this works with pawns, per se, so you can switch this out once again for Gravitas, or you can switch it out for Bastion. That might be another good one. But this is what I have on here for my Arisen Mage. This kind of reduces stamina consumed, which is pretty nice. And Articulancy, very standard Sorcerer level 9 augment that you want to get for this, because the faster you cast spells, the better.
What will it be today? Have your pick. Come
So going in here, also, you can try throwing the Worm King's Ring on your pawn. That's another thing that'll reduce the amount of time it takes to cast spells. And all of those together is going to create a mage pawn that is very specialized in their one role, and that is to support the team and stay alive. And so now you might be thinking, why are you running Legion's Might? Why not run the best staff available? Because I have some really good staffs. I have all endgame stuff. But Anodyne, High Anodyne, Grand Anodyne, they do not scale with the amount of magic that you have. So the quality of the staff you're running doesn't matter. Same thing with High Grapnel and Holy Affinity. So unless you're trying to make a sorcerer out of your mage, there's no reason to run anything better than Legion's Might. So now let's get right into the gameplay. Fast as fuck, dude. Playing Destiny 2, he's wearing stompies. How rude. Wait there for when I think it's going to start doing its next animation. That's when it's most effective for me to use this. Alright, so we're able to power through the enraged state without allowing him to do too many attacks on us. Just realized my stamina is kind of low. So it looks like we have the foot, we have the shoulder, and we have the chest. Right, let's help out, I guess. That's down, now just the one on his arm. Ooh. There we go. Ever so slowly, but surely. As you can see, the War of the Lion means nothing to us with our 100% knockdown resistance. Alright, pop this. Pull him down. Looks like Luna's able to get in some damage there. Alright, we got it knocked down, so let's try to keep this damage phase going. Oh, well, that's that. There we go. Now we can load up a High Grapnel. Pull them down. Ooh, we're getting close. Okay, let's pop this thing here. Pawn Star and Luna. Looks like Pawn Star just canceled out of their spell, walked forward a little bit, and tried casting it again. The smartest of maneuvers by the sorcerer of the party. But we got this. Here we go. So here's a brief overview of our skills. We have our primary skills, and then we have our augments here. You can copy them if you want to. So in terms of stat growths, in a lot of different builds in this game, it's very important to optimize your stat growths in order to get the most amount of magic, or the most amount of stamina, etc, etc. But with this build, it doesn't really matter that much because your staff skills aren't based off of magic, which is why we're using Legion's Might. So I guess that if you had to really pick a class to go for, I'd recommend Warrior and just trying to max out that health stat, because they're going to be going down and going down and going down. But with the most amount of health possible, at least when they pop back up, they'll have a bigger buffer. So that's probably what I'd recommend, is a lot of levels in the Warrior. Maybe up to level 100 and switch to Mage, get that maxed out, and go this route. But all in all, it doesn't matter that much. So I hope you give this build a try. Please let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below. Please leave a like. Go ahead and subscribe if you enjoyed this and you think that this is well thought out. On that note, I hope you have a nice day. See ya.